Hi, my name is Claire Paparella, and this is the benchmark assignment for contemporary business leadership presentation. So the two leaders I chose was Richard Paparella, and his place of work is Fujifilm Electronic Materials Inc. USA, and his position is Quality Control Manager, and he has been working in that position for 6 years. And then my selected leader was Satya Nadella, and he works at Microsoft as the CEO, and he has been in that position for 10 years. So, application of leadership theory. So, the leadership theory, I think, portrays Richard Paparella, which is the individual I interviewed, is transformational leadership theory. And this is a leadership theory based on inspiring and empowering their followers to achieve a common vision. Richard Paparella has valued inspiring and empowering the younger generation of employees and people who have internships at Fujifilm. So considering Richard Paparella is my father, I do know him on a personal level as well as now on a more business level. So I know how much he values success, considering he has always pushed me and my younger sister to the best of our abilities. However, from an outsider's perspective, during Richard's interview, he did state that he utilizes the skill of commitment of growth of people towards his greatest achievement, as well as overcoming a significant challenge in the workplace. So you can see how he is very committed in growing people and inspiring people and allowing them to make mistakes during the learning process, but continuing to push them to be the best employee or the best person they can be. Going back to Fujifilm as a whole, Fujifilm offers many different internships for their younger engineers and chemists. So this goes back into inspiring and empowering the younger generation at Fujifilm. Fujifilm's internships are for active college students who are interested in working full-time in a paid 12-week program during their summer breaks. Greatest career achievement of leader. So Richard Paparella stated in his interview that his greatest achievement was enhancing the overall quality systems within Queen Creek from 2018 to now. Some of the people and departments involved in this achievement were the entire quality control department, the LIMS department, which is the Lab Information Management System, administrators, manufacturing managers, manufacturing engineers, quality assurance managers, and sister sites globally, including counterparts in Rhode Island, Texas, California, Colorado, Belgium, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. Some principles that were used in this greatest achievement were ISO 9001, ISO 45001, ISO 14001, Intel's best known methods, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing principles, 5S principles, and key performance indicators. Some products that were used and involved in this achievement include the semiconductor chemicals for their customers, such as Intel, Samsung, and TSMC. This achievement was very impactful in enhancing data management and identifying gaps in their processes, as well as kept them out of the customer task forces. The impact of this achievement was able to give the quality control department of Fujifilm, which is his specific department, better visibility to metrology, baseline data, and tightening controls on their processes, which overall positively impacted their customer efficiency and yields. So this was the data from the interview of the skills he thought he utilized and the success for his greatest achievement. So as you can see, healing was never used, and that is kind of lowest on the scale. However, he did use listening, awareness, conceptualization, foresight, and the commitment to the growth of people, which I stated before, during the process of this greatest achievement. Handling out a challenge. So one significant career challenge Richard faced was insufficient headcount and resources to employ the improvements in their quality systems. So this issue was handled through extensive and complex data analysis and presentation to the local senior management, supporting and persuading to change their mindset to provide necessary resources. So during his interview, he did say that he utilized data collection and analysis to persuade the local senior management team, and the outcome was successful in convincing the senior management through data analysis of the required resources needed and this was subsequently approved. So from my perspective, I would consider the response to these interview questions about the significant career challenge he faced to align more with a managerial role rather than a leadership role. And he is considered a manager. However, both managers and leaders are both intertwined and they alternate depending on if they're managing or leading. However, during this situation, I don't believe personally that he was leading a group. He was more managing each individual task, as employees all have different positions in the company. So I think he was more managing the department as a whole and each individual person. However, he did have those leadership roles of kind of motivating the people to motivating, inspiring, and empowering, as I stated before, to continue to push through this challenge. Some additional details about this challenge that he did face was it actually is a current challenge. It was from 2018 to 2024. And some of the people involved in this was the Queen Creek Quality Control, Engineering, and Lab Management. And they conducted data analysis with the senior management team, also including the site director, which is Richard Paparella's boss, as well as the vice president. This is again the same table as shown before, and as you can see again, just like with the greatest accomplishment he had, healing was never used, and listening, awareness, conceptualization, foresight, and the commitment to the growth of people were on the side of he used them most of the time, if always. Power bases and impact of behavior. So the power base I chose for Richard Paparella based on his interview and answer to the questions was referent power. And this power is known as charisma and is a type of power that influences compliance or an individual's personality. So Richard Paparella stated before, values motivating and encouraging his employees to thrive and develop as a vital part of their company. He is responsible for a large department of quality control, and this would be seen as more of an expert power in the types of power bases. However, he does display referent power in his caring and motivational ways of building up and growing his employees. Due to his desire to help his employees, I believe that referent power associates with him the best as just an individual, since I know him personally, as a coworker, and as a manager. This charisma towards his clients, customers, and employees is undeniable and is vital to the success of his department and the company as a whole. Now to this slide. So, kind of continue of before, since Richard is charismatic and values the improvement of his employees, he has been a crucial piece in his company, has impacted the success and growth in his department of quality control as well as Fujifilm. Without the willingness to help and push his employees, there would have not has been as much effectiveness and efficiency in order to build up the successful organization. And although there has been struggles during the way and through this process, Richard has been able to work with his employees and build them up to be spectacular elements of Fujifilm as well as the quality control department. He also has been known in assisting and giving second chances, because obviously everybody's kind of learning. No matter what job you go into, you're always learning new things, so you're going to make mistakes on the way. So I do value him as a person for that, but I do believe his employees and his coworkers value the fact that he gives those chances and he understands that mistakes will be made during this process. Leadership style comparison. So as stated before, transformational leadership theory is theory based on inspiring and empowering their followers to achieve a common vision. As stated before, Richard Paparella has valued these younger generation at Fujifilm by inspiring them and empowering them to be the best employees they can be. However, based on the leader I selected, which is Satya Nadella, which again is the Microsoft CEO, I do believe that he represents contingency leadership theory, and this is a leadership style that depends on the situation and context. Compared to Fujifilm, Microsoft is a larger and ever-changing company, and I believe that Satya Nadella reacts differently to each situation depending on the employee, the coworker, just the context of everything. So I believe that he doesn't have a specific way he leads his group or he manages his group. It's always going to depend on what issue arises and what he thinks is the best way to resolve that issue. Leadership style comparison, just a little bit continued for the strengths and the weaknesses of each. So transformational leadership theory, some strengths include effectiveness, creativity, innovation, motivation, satisfaction, and facilitates organizational change. Weaknesses include limited applicability, cultural context dependency, pressure on followers, and individual creativity impact. So as stated before, transformational leadership is that empowering and inspiring and just kind of having the will and the mentality that you want to build and grow your department or your group of people. So these strengths, there's going to be a lot more positive strengths, in my opinion, to this one, considering you have that charismatic mentality. You have that you're caring, you're motivating, you're inspiring, like you're wanting the best for every individual you're working with. However, contingency leadership theory, not that it's bad, but these strengths and weaknesses are always going to depend on the situation, just as the leader is going to act differently to every situation. So some strengths are practicality, flexibility, obviously, because it's going to be flexible to each and every situation, a broader understanding, and weaknesses include lack of explanation and doesn't address leadership differences. Leadership lessons. So effective leadership behaviors play crucial roles in achieving organizational success. So 3 of the behaviors stated below are being a proactive, strategic thinker. And these are successful leaders that anticipate challenges, identify opportunities, and develop long-term plans. They also think more critically and adapt to changing circumstances and align their actions with the organizational goals. Another behavior is serving as a motivational force for others. And these are more inspirational leaders, and they encourage their teams to have positive work environment, constructive feedback, and they recognize their achievements in each and every employee. So their enthusiasm and encouragement drives their team and allows them to perform at their best. Lastly, leading by example. This is kind of self-explanatory, but these are effective leaders that set very high standards for their department as well as themselves. And they consistently model the behavior that they expect from their team. So their actions demonstrate integrity, commitment, and dedication, and this inspires their department, or at least hopefully inspires their department and employees to follow behind them. I think the last behavior associates with Richard the most. However, all of these kind of fluctuate depending on the situation. I mean, every situation's different, but just knowing my dad personally, as well as based on the interview, I do think leading by example and setting those high standards and inspiring others is more him. However, the Microsoft CEO, I do think, is going to possess all of those leadership behaviors again, because he's ever changing depending on the situation. These leadership behaviors help influence, build trust, and empower others to achieve collective success for their own personal benefits as well as the organizational benefits. This is a similar table to the other ones I showed. However, there's a little different skills on the side. So based on how Richard valued these skills concerning entrepreneurial mindset is shown on the screen. So as you can see, tolerance for ambiguity is rarely used. And some of the always used skills that he identified or associated with was risk for propensity, need to achieve, positive intentions and attitude, and productivity and work ethic, and many more. Some additional points I wanted to mention from the interview I had was the last question that was answered in the interview, and that was, apart from servant leadership and entrepreneurial mindset, please identify 2 significant lessons or attributes that are essential for success, as well as describe anything you wish you would have specifically avoided that may have derailed or delayed your success. So to answer the first part of that question, he stated that the 2 alternative lessons and attributes he believed that were essential for success were continuous improvement and innovation. And this relates to the mission and vision for Fujifilm as a whole. They do believe in continuous improvement, and they do believe in creative innovation. So kind of cool how his success lines up with the mission and vision for his company. I think that's why he is very good at what he does personally. But it's kind of cool at seeing those 2 line up and seeing that like his work environment is also very reflective of his own personal definition of attributes essential for success. For the second part of the question, he said there was nothing he wanted to avoid. He also stated that there was nothing that he would have avoided or done differently, kind of thing. Everything kind of happens for a reason, is kind of how he put it. However, their success was often impeded by business climate as well as financial resources required to achieve their goal. So he did state that for the derailing and delay for success, that was kind of the reason behind it, but it was never anything he specifically did. But he's not the type of person with his charisma, as stated previously in the presentation, to kind of throw somebody under the bus. So reflection, the reason behind choosing Richard Paparella as the leader I want to interview was not only the fact that he is my father, but I never truly knew what he did for work. I knew he was a manager for quality control, and I kind of knew what Fujifilm was about, but I didn't know kind of the technicalities of everything, and I thought it would be very cool to understand that, and he does manage about 75 people, so I thought it was a good group to understand leadership goals as well as management goals, and just the qualities needed to be in that level of success and that high on a spectrum for a company. However, one challenge I did face during the interview was not really understanding every aspect and concept he mentioned. And considering he had a lot of scientific principles and chemicals he used and just things that like I haven't had much experience with, I was able to kind of reroute back to that and understand on a deeper level what they were in order to understand what I was learning about with the interview. So I thought it was cool how I got to learn like abbreviations and different policies, but that was one challenge I faced. And I feel like in a different interview, it would have been a lot more difficult to continue to ask questions. But considering it is my dad, I felt comfortable asking those questions and asking for clarification. I believe I learned a lot in this interview, such as effective ways to manage departments, de-escalate intense situation, and understand the strengths and weaknesses of my coworkers, which the last part I feel like is very essential in a management and leadership role, is just understanding the people you're working with, because I feel like that kind of goes back into how you're going to manage that department, as well as de-escalate situations and with people with issues that arise at work, but I feel like that's a huge thing. And I feel like during this interview and during this process of both researching the Microsoft CEO as well as having the interview, I learned that knowing those strengths and weaknesses are a vital part in having a successful organization and managing a successful department. Here's my references. Thank you.